Carl Sagan could not have predicted 2021, but he did see it coming. He wrote the following back in 1995, and we quote, "I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when, clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide almost without noticing back into superstition and darkness. The dumbing down of America is most evident in the slow decay of substantive content and the enormously influential media. The 30-second sound bites now down to 10 seconds or less. Lowest common denominator programming, credulous presentations on pseudoscience and superstition, but especially a kind of celebration of ignorance." Roll that around for a while. Those were among his final published words. He died 10 months later. Here we are 25 years later, realizing just what he was trying to tell us back then.
And they also asked, could you elaborate on what's the Gorgon stare that Ashton Forbes has spoken about both on social media and here on the show? I haven't had Ashton on here in a while, but the last time I did have him on, he spoke about that program, Gorgon Stare, and basically wanting to know, can you tell us a little bit more about what that is and why it would be so secret?
Yeah, I can't.
This is the part, by the way, where I said I'm not sure you're going to be able to answer it if it's really in your wheelhouse. I figured you would know about it, but I figured you probably can't talk too much about Gorgon Stare. But, I mean, can you say anything?
Yeah. No. Nope.
Fair enough. But it is real. It does exist.
I would say that Ashton's very good at his research.
Okay. All right. I guess we will leave it at that for the Gorgon.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Even as these grainy satellite images released today by the Chinese government.
Why shoot it down, though, if it's not hostile?
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Why the Americans would?
They leave distance annihilated.
This country is very powerful. Far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world. Not even close.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Welcome, everybody, to the live stream. Thank you guys so much for being here. Guys, we are approaching like 400 live streams reviewing science, discovering the truth about MH370. We have come so far. Last week was about science topics that I could never have imagined that I would be teaching, leading, instructing just a couple of years ago. And tonight we are going to be digging into our first CIA individual. It has been a journey to get to the point where we can now start to identify the people that are responsible for the cover-up of the technology used on MH370. And tonight, I want to talk about somebody that not only do I believe they worked on the technology related to MH370, I think they have firsthand information about the operation that was conducted. That's the more I've dug into this person, who is Glenn Gaffney, former director of science and technology for the CIA, director and senior fellow with the Q Tel CIA venture capital company. One of the other things that we're going to dig into, we're going to learn tonight, is that he actually helped to integrate surveillance platforms and procure surveillance platforms for the CIA to use in their own, for their own reasons, their own purposes. So tonight, the topic is exposing Glenn Gaffney. Now, I don't want to oversell this, so what I'll say, all right, off the bat, before we get into that, is that from digging into this guy, he's as straight as you could possibly be. Straight arrows, you could possibly be, buttoned up all the way. I can't even imagine this guy having a parking ticket. And this is exactly what the CIA loves. This is the kind of person they want. When I listened to him for 5 minutes, I knew right away this guy knows where the bodies are buried. This is exactly what the CIA wants. This is exactly the type of institutionalized career man that the CIA would need to be able to hide this kind of technology. Before we get into all that, I want to cover the news tonight. Over the weekend, a number of tragedies occurred, and I want to address all of them. Right off the bat, the Syria, there was a terrorist attack, or we're being told a terrorist attack in Syria, where I believe 3 service members or 2 service members and a defense contractor were killed. Prayers to all of them. That's horrible. And just like I think Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, said, anybody that was involved in that, you will be wondering when the end is going to come for the last little bit of life that you have left on this world. One of the things that we have revealed as part of this community is that we have surveillance capabilities far beyond what the public is aware of. To a degree where the movies The Net with Sandra Bullock or Enemy of the State with Gene Hackman and Will Smith, those are primitive compared to what we have now with AI capabilities, like whammy capabilities, even our satellite, quantum technologies. So you are not going to be able to hide. There is nowhere on this planet you can hide. We will find you if we already haven't done that, and you'll be done. Simple as that. And in fact, that's true for the next few tragedies, which I think this is what I want to talk about and why I want to discuss them, not just that they happened. So the next tragedy that occurred, chronologically in order here, is the Brown University tragedy, which there was a shooting on the campus where 2 individuals were tragically murdered, and I believe several others were wounded. And it seems like it was a targeted attack. Seems like, we don't know for sure. Because the female that was killed was the head of the Republican group on campus. So they believe that it was a targeted shooting. Now, the thing about the Brown University case is that they have no suspects. They have no suspects. Nobody's in custody. And this happened at a major university, and there's no clear footage whatsoever of the shooter. And that seems really odd to people, of course. I don't know what the layout is, of course, but there was just right before this live stream, I think they released like 3 videos of the person walking down the street who they suspect is the person who committed the crime. And one thing I want to point out is that you can't tell what the person looks like because they're wearing a black surgical mask. I think they have a hoodie on and a black surgical mask. And isn't it crazy how in the before times, I refer to the before COVID, like basically, you know how we have like before Christ and after Christ when we refer to chronological, like, you know, eras and things like that. We're going to have a new one now, like before COVID and after COVID. So in the before times when people were still normal and hadn't completely lost their minds, nobody wore masks anywhere they went. Like, this is going to seem strange in the future. People are going to think, did this really just flip overnight? Yes. All of a sudden, suddenly overnight, everybody believed they had to wear a mask everywhere they went. And so we decided several, I think like 15 plus states actually banned masks in public. And you would say, why were they banned? They were banned for this exact reason that you're seeing now, is that when people committed crimes, they usually covered their face. like in the Western days, and it made it hard to identify people. So they actually banned masks. And in fact, when COVID happened, these very same states had to remove their mask bans so that they could mandate people wear masks. Now, you can't make this tomfoolery up. And for when the historians watch this later on and wonder, was this true? Were we really this dumb? Yes, we were really this dumb. In fact, we're probably dumber than this. If my live streams have taught you anything, they've taught you humans are even dumber than this. Because if it was illegal to wear masks in public, we would now have the shooter identified. But because it's not, now we can only see like their eyes, like this much of their face. So we can't see anything. It's just, I don't know. It's just wild to me. Now, what I'll say on this, I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction. I'm going way out there with this. I'm going to test my investigative prowess here. What I can discern from that crime is it must have been a crime of emotion. It was a crime of passion. They're targeting either that woman or the guy she was with. They were targeting those individuals. You don't go into a university, open a random door up and shoot a random person and then flee and be like, okay, I'm done. That's not how a mass shooting works. That's how a situation where like you were going to find someone. So either that was like an ex-lover or some troll who like was too parasocial about that girl, or, somebody could have been in a situation where they knew that person was the head of the conservative movement and they felt, targeted towards that individual. Those are what I'm looking at in terms of the motives of that crime, based on almost no evidence whatsoever other than the circumstances of the situation. Because it explains why somebody would then run away and flee. If somebody's going to commit a horrible crime, a mass shooting, they know it's game over at the end. They know in all those situations, usually they end themselves or it's suicide by cop at the end. And they know that's how it's going to go down. So for this to run away, where they run away and they try to flee, this is more akin to the Charlie Kirk situation where somebody had a vendetta against them and then they wanted to flee afterwards because it was focused on that individual target. And maybe the person they were with would just happen to be a witness that couldn't be allowed to be out there, right? So that's my take on that case. And also prayers to the families there, because the senseless violence is just why? Why is this all happening? Sadly, that wasn't even enough. There was more. Only a few hours later, I believe the next morning, yesterday morning, was the Bondi Beach attack. The Bondi Beach attack, which people, by the way, were using this as proof that Candace Owens was right about there's going to be a false flag 9/11 style attack. No, she was not right. This is not a false flag. It's not a 9/11 style attack. Doesn't meet any of the criteria. It didn't even happen in America. So this attack was committed by 2 Islamic terrorists. I think this has been admitted to now. And they shot up a whole bunch of Jewish people that were on the beach celebrating Hanukkah. I think 15 victims I saw on the news right before this, it's up to. And there's video of the whole thing. There's like a 10 or 11 minute video. It's a father-son combination, yes. And people are trying to say that it's a false. I mean, guys, the whole thing is recorded for 15 minutes, including the cops not showing up and a bystander showing up and stopping one of the gunmen and reportedly getting shot himself in the process of stopping the gunman. And this is all recorded, and you can just watch it. So I can already imagine conspiracy theories brewing over it because it was Islamic people shooting Jewish people. There's going to be this weird pushback on the internet. But again, it's just all on video, so I don't know what more people really want from that perspective. So prayers go out to them. And I think that we can't avoid the topic. We've been talking about it. I've been getting called a Mossad shill. The reality is there is a problem with Islamic terrorism in this world. No doubt. And Jewish people are being targeted. That's a fact. I went to high school with kids that were from Israel, overseas in Singapore. And I have the yearbooks probably still, even though they're probably falling apart now, where the kids couldn't even put their country of origin under their names because there were death squads that would be hunting them in Southeast Asia, specifically in places like Malaysia. So we have to, I mean, it's a real situation. Now, does this mean that we discriminate against all Islamic, all Muslim people? No, we can't. That's not the right answer either. Though we have to address the problem as it is. If we turn away from the problem, we're no better than the woke left. In fact, we're exactly like them if we turn away from the problem, if we ignore the problem, if we pretend like they're a disadvantaged community, therefore we have to, ignore the fact that they're literally out there trying to murder everybody. So there's a problem. There's a problem. And I think it starts with removing the disinformation on the internet, or at least combating it to the best degree that's possible in a free speech world. Because let's be honest, what's happening with this brainwashing on the internet, turning Israel into the big boogeyman, it may not be directly causing these attacks, but it's certainly contributing. Certainly contributing to a father-son duo deciding that they're going to go Rambo and take out as many Jewish people as they can before they die. I mean, that's crazy, man. Real crazy. But that's what it leads to when your whole belief system is that these people need to be eliminated. And there's this. Okay. One last tragedy. Can't believe there's this many. We went weeks without any good news, and now we've got more than I wish I would even want to talk about. And the last tragedy is Rob Reiner. I couldn't actually believe this one when I woke up this morning. Rob Reiner was stabbed to death in his home by his own son and his wife, the mother of the son. I think it's the mother of the son or stepmother, one way or the other. Both of them were stabbed to death by their own son. And I have to say, Rob Reiner, admittedly, I mean, everybody on the right was very cautious about this because of the Charlie Kirk situation. So there's basically nobody celebrating this. I saw very few jokes about Rob Reiner. And then Donald Trump rolls out and just slanders the man. Just goes right after. And admittedly, Rob Reiner had TDS, full-blown TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, if you're not familiar with it. He was on Bill Maher talking shit about Trump all the time. So whatever they had their feuds, I didn't agree with basically anything Rob Reiner ever said, but he made really amazing movies. Now, I'll overlook a lot if you make a good movie, admittedly. Call me a hypocrite, call me whatever you want. I appreciate good cinema. It's been a while. But just because I didn't agree with anything the guy said politically, he certainly did not deserve to be stabbed in the neck. So categorically, I'm against any and all violence against adversaries, people that I disagree with politically. It's not the answer. It's never the answer. In fact, I would go so far as to say that acts like of violence like that, random acts of violence like that, actually are part of the reason why we can't ever have free energy technology, aneutronic fusion, teleportation, warp drives. Just think about how much we would misuse this technology in moments of rage against one another. Ultimately, we are the problem. We are the problem at the end of the day. It's us. And I think this helps to put the Glenn Gaffney stuff in light. Because when I learn and watch Glenn Gaffney, I'm watching a very intelligent individual. Somebody who sees the forest for the trees, sees the bigger picture. It's almost like I'm looking at my chaperone. Like I'm the sixth grader on camp, doing the camp retreat. And they got the chaperone adult. And there's Glenn Gaffney. Making sure that nobody has any sharp objects and everybody's in bed by 8 o'clock. So we can all wake up for pancakes. Because everybody likes pancakes, and anybody that doesn't is basically just a degenerate. Simple as that. Now, before we dig into the Glenn Gaffney stuff, I've got a couple things to dig into on that. There's a couple things from Twitter that I want to talk about here that I think I bookmarked. Let me see if I've got them up here. Yeah, okay. Which one? I think this one. Oh, yeah. Two things. Okay, let's start with this one. First of all, aliens. There was a interview with Jesse Michaels. Jesse Michaels interviewed, was it former Russian president, prime minister, whatever, basically said that aliens are real. I want to watch that clip here. I think it's only a couple minutes long. Oh, it's actually kind of long. Let me see here. Maybe I won't watch it. Maybe I'll just read it for you guys. Yeah, let's just do that. I'll let you see so like you can tell it's like a real human being here. How about that? So you can tell this is like really what he's saying, and I'm not just saying it.
Of Earth know that you exist, that you have arrived, and now observing. Or I can address them instead and say that I have met you, interesting ones. We have waited for you so long.
Look at Jesse. He's so happy. You know what? I might hit up Jesse and actually ask to interview him. I feel like we're at the point. By the way, I feel like we're at the point where Jesse, I shouldn't even be on Jesse's show. Jesse should come on my show. I should interview Jesse about what he knows, about what his weird conversation with Charles Chase, how much he knows about aneutronic fusion, where he's at with this UFO stuff. Maybe that's the angle to go at. Maybe I'm going to send, in fact, if he's listening right now, formal invite to Jesse Michaels to come on my podcast, Hard Truths Podcast. I'd love to talk to you about your opinion on aliens and UFOs and, you know, your connection to some of these people out there. Let's see here. And then it won't be a gotcha interview. I'm not going to like jump all over you over Peter Thiel, although I could. So what this guy says here, this is a good interview. I mean, I like Jesse. Supposedly this guy was taken up with the aliens and he was told the truth. And the reason why the aliens, everybody wants to know, why have the aliens not exposed themselves to us? And I'll tell you right now, I believe aliens are real. I believe every kind of alien you can imagine in your head is real. They're all out there. Life is everywhere out there, is what I believe. And so people say, well, where are they then? Where are they hiding? Why won't they come and talk to us? And my opinion has been that because we're just ants. Do you go try to talk to the ants? Do you go try to converse with the lions in the jungle or the tigers in the jungle or whatever? No, of course not. It's dangerous. They're stupid. They're going to kill you if you go near them because they're not on your cognitive level to understand morality. They don't understand irrigation, right? We're on the basic same level. We're on the same level as the primitive animals are to us, to the aliens. The aliens are like, I'm not going to expose myself to you because you're dumb and you think that like you have to still kill each other and cook each other and eat each other to survive. Doesn't that actually seem primitive? Let me just throw something, and this is actually an example from something he says. Because I agree with almost everything he says. He says, you're a civilization where your greatest feat is going from killing your animal, killing each other and eating one another to cooking each other up and eating it by candlelight. And you think about the absurdity of it. And it is absurd, isn't it? It's actually why I called the stream tonight Tragedy of the Commons. Tragedy of the Commons. I think it applies to all of the themes tonight. And in this perspective, you say, we have to eat food, eat energy to survive, to keep running. And the vegans would say, well, yes, but you don't need to eat meat in order to do that. And I would say, you're right. An advanced species doesn't have to eat meat to survive. In fact, they even took it a step further than that. They also don't need to eat vegetables to survive either, because they've just reverse engineered the actual elements that are sustaining them, and they can just eat it in a pill form. And they don't have any of the stuff that they don't need. It can be 100% efficient for just the nutrients and minerals they need to be 100% efficient in their body, because that's where society is headed. That's what the aliens are doing. So the aliens would look at us and they would go, you're stupid for thinking you have to eat each other at all. You have no reason to eat each other, because we're stupid primitives that think that space is empty, that we think that once I drink this water, it's just gone. Once I drink this water, is it gone, chat? Is the water gone? No, it's in my body now, and I'm going to urinate it out later on. And so the aliens understand that perspective. They look at the universe in a different light. So what he says here, I'm just going to read it out. They looked at me and they said, "You have not yet reached the level in your civilization's development to communicate with us." I said, "How come? We have television, the internet, spacecraft." This was in 1997, by the way. They asked, "Do you converse with ants?" I say, "No, we haven't learned to talk to ants yet." They told him, "We live in different dimensions. Your only achievement in civilization is that we created you. Not only humans, but everything that surrounds us. Your only civilizational leap is that before you used to eat them raw, and now you kill and cook them and eat them in restaurants by candlelight." That is some. My dude was just spitting fire when he said that. Well, I didn't realize the aliens were William Shakespeare. I didn't realize they were just spitting hot fire poetry like that. That's gonna be my new motto right there. I'm gonna talk to people like, "I'm not a human like you. Your only civilization leap is before you used to eat them raw, and now you kill and cook them and eat them in restaurants by candlelight." Whew. God damn. Spitting fire. Okay. And then he says, "Every creature that lives in the universe must go through certain stages. You still destroy each other. We created you here, gave you a beautiful land, rivers, lakes, seas, and you pollute it with industrial waste, burn, cut down these forests." Okay, Captain America. Okay, Mr. Hippie. That's enough. That's enough, buddy. Okay, Mr. Alien, if you're the one with the free energy, why do you care if we pollute the planet? You can just reverse that basically instantly if we got free energy anyway. I don't like hippie aliens, chat. The hippie aliens are not allowed to come here. We have a strict quota: no hippie aliens, no communist aliens either. Just in case that's, I mean, it goes without saying, but there you go. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Right now, there are over 117 armed conflicts happening around the world. You are so beautiful, yet you direct all of your science and efforts towards inventing weapons to kill each other as much as possible. True. They said they didn't want to disrupt the course of our civilization. Back in his time, the great Russian scientist Konstantin Tulovsky, I hope that's how you say his name, said that not even the whole universe, by simply our own galaxy, the solar system, is teeming with different intelligent civilizations. And until we overcome our egocentrism, such communication probably won't happen. Wow. Now, whether or not you agree that the Russian guy was abducted by aliens in 1997 or not, doesn't really matter. I think that what he's saying there is true. I mean, if aliens are out there, and I think that they are, the reason why they're not communicating with us is because we are so far primitive compared to where they're at that we're not even worth their time. And it might be dangerous for them to interact with us. That's the reality that I think most people can't comprehend. Because we put ourselves up on this pedestal as a species, as a civilization, and we're not. We're not. That's the thing that people struggle with, is that we're basically still ants. But we think of ourselves, we have this egocentric view of ourselves. We think of ourselves so highly. And I think this is also what's holding us back. I think we could be even greater than we are. I do agree that we are a beautiful species. A flawed, beautiful species. One with almost unlimited potential. The ability to evolve, to learn at a rate that might be unprecedented in the universe. I'm guessing that our ability to learn and adapt rivals the most intelligent species out there, because it's an inherent ability to overcome obstacles, to come up with solutions to problems. But at the end of the day, we waste this, and this is true, is that instead of using this intelligence to make energy sources that could move us to the next echelon of the Kardashev scale, to make a new Kardashev scale, instead we make weapons Instead, we hide fusion energy from the world so that we can make space-time manipulation weapons. For what purpose? So that we can teleport Boeing 777s in the sky. So that the CIA can flex on China and teleport a Boeing 777 with some plasma orbs. Now, you had me. You had me, CIA. I was on your side. I agreed with you. I said, you know what? I agree. We shouldn't be hiding free energy tech, or we should be hiding free energy technology from these primitive people around. I mean, look at how many mass murder incidents keep happening. But then you went and abused it. The question that nobody can sufficiently answer: why did you have to use those plasma orbs on MH370? I get it. You're the CIA. You do CIA covert operations. Why did you use the plasma orbs? Why not just shoot it with a missile? Why not just kidnap the people somewhere else in Malaysia? Why not just assassinate the people? Why did you target the entire Boeing 777 with some plasma orbs? That is an egocentric move. That, exactly. They were showing off. They were fucking showing off. They were showing off. And that is, guys, I play Magic cards all the time. The one thing you never, ever do in Magic cards, never good game them before the game is over. Never say the game's over before the game is over. You will be cursed if you do. If you good game the opponent before the game is over, there is some karma in the universe that will ensure their next top deck is some Yu-Gi-Oh shit. Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Cards! You better prepare to duel! And he'll have the fucking Blue Eyes White Dragon. He'll have that shit right off the top of the deck. And that's what happened. They were showing off. They were showing off with those orbs. They had no reason to use the orbs whatsoever. They should have kept that shit in the closet where it belonged. But they wanted to flex on China. And they flexed, and they probably had chat. They probably had champagne glasses out. Glenn Gaffney was probably in the private CIA meeting with Obama, where they were cheering with champagne glasses over how successful their operation was and how stupid all the people are for believing that the plane could just disappear off the face of the earth. They were probably cheering with the champagne glasses. Here you go. Have another medal, another secret medal for you, Glenn Gaffney. We're going to make sure that you become super rich after all this. And then the videos leak. Can you imagine the feeling that Obama or Glenn Gaffney or whoever was involved in the operation they had when they found out those videos leaked on the internet? Everything exposed, the operation exposed, the technology that they shouldn't even have been using on the plane exposed. It says, I mean, it tells the story, and that's why they don't deserve to keep it secret. If they had been responsible enough to hide the technology, which is clearly what their mandate was, hide it because it's too dangerous, right? That's why they didn't reveal it to the public. It's too dangerous. That's going to be their excuse. If it was so dangerous, why did you use it on a Boeing 777 on a civilian airliner? Right? This is why they don't like the videos, chat. Now we're getting into the mud. Okay, next thing, guys. I don't want to go on all night here. Okay, so that was the alien thing. I think this is the only... Do I want to look at this one? No, but this is another thing where, guys, there's a lot of conspiracy stuff out there, and there are real conspiracies. But there's a lot of fake people pushing fake conspiracy stuff that has no evidence whatsoever. So do you want a real one? I'm going to give you a free one for my conspiratards. This is a free one, this is a little side quest for you. One of these recent, like, Antifa protests, there was a friendly fire incident And all the Antifa people are now protecting the people who were involved because there was like literally no reason to take a shot. Somebody freaked out and heard a bullet or something, and they took a shot and they killed an innocent bystander. And now everybody's circling the wagons trying to protect them. That's a conspiracy. There you go. There you go. Go dig into that. Go dig around the footage from that day and figure out who the people were who were taking shots. There's footage out there. Where are all the conspirators looking through all the footage, trying to figure out who the people responsible were for this completely unnecessary death? And the people quite openly covering it up. Quite openly, they're trying to hide that murder, that killing. So go ahead, conspirators. There you go. I've given it to you right there. Don't say I never gave you a real conspiracy. I've got real conspiracies for days if you want real ones. The downside is they're not all based on Israel, so probably not interested. Am I swallowing the Antifa bullshit? What exactly does that mean? Do you think Antifa is not a real organization? They're a real organization with real people, with real chapters, people openly. My favorite is when people openly identify. Like people are like, hey, you called that person a Hitler lover. Like they openly say they love Hitler. They're self-identifying. I'm just calling people what they call themselves. If somebody calls themselves Antifa, I'm going to call them Antifa. Anyway, let me just point that out. Sorry, this isn't going to be a reaction to the comments stream. I want to listen to this video with you guys here. This is this James Woodward, right? I think that's who this is here. Listen very carefully to what he's going to say right here.
Like that were secret projects, like that.
So this is him being asked about secret projects. Secret projects. Here we go.
Were secret projects.
Yeah.
And you don't seem to acknowledge the possibility of any sort of secret projects at all.
Oh, there are secret projects.
Does that
yes,
make
there are
sense
secret
that there might be?
There are secret projects. But what I will say about those secret projects is that they are probably all misguided.
Okay.
You know, or a large number of them are misguided.
Don't you think that there's weapons that it might be secret that are beyond the public domain?
Oh, I'm sure the military has secret weapons. Yeah. And I'm sure, you know, and I'm sure that the intelligence agencies run what I call an early warning system. Okay. They have people out in the communities like this and you know, various areas, just in case somebody has a bright idea that turns out to pan out.
Hold, pause, chat. Pause. Yo, he just nailed it. I'm sure they have people in the community like this right here. He's talking about the academic community right there. And we already know that's real. We already know. If you haven't been following me, chat, get JSON, get the JSONs group into your vocabulary, because this is what the CIA did. This is how silly it is. This is how silly it is. The CIA had to figure out, how do we infiltrate academia to figure out what's the cutting edge stuff that everybody's working on. You know what the answer was? Invite them over for dinner. We don't have to bug anybody. We don't have to like put secret microphones. We don't have to tap their phones or anything. Can literally just invite them over. Bring them into the fold. Get to know them. Ask them. And they'll just tell you, because they're mostly socially awkward engineers and nerds. They're not intelligence people. They're just nerds building cool shit. They'll just tell you. So then just incorporate them into the veil of secrecy. Then you say, okay, here you go. You tell me. And now we'll give you this position. We'll make sure that you get this position at this university, because don't worry, we know the dean. We know the chancellor. Because the CIA has connections. This is actually how they build their network. And then they control the businesses in much the same way using this company in Q Tel that we're going to take a look at. Let's let him finish here.
Okay. The problem is that by the time people figure out that the bright idea is actually a bright idea, the chances are you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Got it.
Okay. That it's out there. And the best you can do at that point is to try and hide it in plain sight.
Okay.
Okay. By garbaging it up with a lot of other stuff and all that, and hope that they can't figure out, your competitors can't figure out the wheat from the chaff.
Got it. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Is that Tom Hudson again? Shout out to Tom Hudson again. So there you go at the end. He just says it. He says, well, what do you do when it gets figured out? Well, now you just put a bunch of disinformation out there. Basically just say that it doesn't work, just confuse people a bunch, and then people won't be able to tell what the real aspect is. This is exactly what they're doing. This is exactly what they did with cold fusion. This is exactly what they're doing with anti-gravity and all this crash retrieval alien shit. It feels like the whole alien crash retrieval thing is also just a cover. To me, it's the perfect cover for us having developed this technology from the Manhattan Project, Philadelphia experiment, Nazis, fusion bombs, whatever. You just blame it on the aliens, man. Blame it on the aliens. And then, yeah, this is how, why they went after Salvatore Pais. Because you have to stop the people internally that are going to figure it out, even if they know, or you have to discredit them as well. You have to stop your competitors. And if anybody comes close, like China, Russia, Iran, you can just kill them because the CIA can do whatever they want overseas. But if an American citizen starts to figure this technology out, now it gets a little murkier. Now it's like, well, you can discredit them, you can destroy their lives, but we can't technically just kill them unless they're like a threat, right? There's all this weird legal stuff related to it. Okay, one more thing I want to take a look at, and then we're going to look at Glenn Gaffney here. A video, actually, shout out. I can't believe I'm saying these words, chat. Hold on. I have to absorb before I say these words. Hold on. Shout out to Danny Jones. Shout out to Danny Jones. I can't believe I said it. This interview with Jason Giorgiani. Technically, it's more of a shout out to Jason Giorgiani here. This interview with Danny Jones, because he basically just says the secret sauce. He says what we've been saying. And the thing about this is that I think Jason came to these opinions on his own. So people asked a lot about this author, this book author that talked about the videos and MH370. And that guy, I think, just copied my work, which is fine. I don't care. I mean, I'm just putting ideas into the world. I'm an influencer. Jason Giorgiani, he might have been influenced a little bit by my work, but I think he came to his own conclusion that aneutronic fusion is tapping 0-point energy. Now, we've had that idea out there that aneutronic fusion or fusion in general is tapping 0-point energy. And Jason Giorgiani either fell in love with that idea or he came to that conclusion independently. That's my impression that I get from him. Let's watch this clip. It's a little bit long. I might skip ahead a little bit. Let's see. Wait, where is it? Wait. Did I not save it? Hold on. Oh, here it is right here. I didn't save it. One sec, chat. There we go. I was like, hold on. I thought I was going crazy for a second.
A nuclear physicist is building fusion power for Juan Perón in Argentina. And there's photographs of Juan Perón standing there with Ronald Richter. And Perón is bragging that Richter is going to provide Argentines with liter to half-liter sized fusion reactors to power their homes.
Now, I'm going to skip ahead here in a second, but this is so big because that's Jason Giorgiani talking about these miniature fusion reactors. What has been all over the news recently? Micro-nuclear reactors. Or what do they call them? Modular small nuclear reactors? Yeah, SNR, some small nuclear reactors. And fusion is a form of nuclear energy. And Elon came out today or yesterday and said, that's a big waste of money. We shouldn't be wasting money on small nuclear reactors. I'm sorry, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard him say. He said a lot of stupid things when it comes to this technology, but Elon Musk clearly does not understand fusion. Clearly does not understand it. And unfortunately, his view is the same reason why the aliens won't come talk to us. Because Elon Musk thinks that we have to eat each other to survive. That's his perspective. That's his viewpoint. But the reality is we can just conjure food directly from the 0-point energy field, directly from space-time itself. And you say, Ashton, how do you do that? The answer is aneutronic fusion, direct energy conversion, is directly interfacing, directly interacting with space-time. Space-time. Why? Because plasma is electromagnetic. And so is the 0-point energy. So you have two things that are electromagnetic. Of course, they're going to interact. And under the right topologies, under the right density of plasma, you can create a vortex, which is essentially just like making a drain in your bathtub, but in space-time itself. A black hole, if you will. Let's let Jason finish, though. I'm stealing his thunder here. I'm going to go ahead a little bit.
The machinery specifically involved electromagnetic rotation of nuclear isotopes.
So they went and they looked at Richter's stuff, Ronald Richter in Argentina. And he had real equipment. Equipment is really set up to do these kinds of experiments.
Creates a secondary fusion detonation.
Right.
Oh, wait, hold on. I skipped.
Plasma fusion.
The Nazi bell?
Yes.
So
So
Ronald
Ronald
Richter,
Richter,
be a time machine or something.
So, but here's the thing: is that nuclear plasma fusion, which doesn't need to be ignited by a fission trigger. That's how our fusion bombs work. Our fusion bombs are a nuclear bomb, an atom bomb goes off, and it then creates a secondary fusion detonation.
Right.
That produces fallout. The fallout comes from the fission trigger in a fusion bomb.
That is so huge. Probably the most important line of Danny Jones' entire interview with Jason Giorgiani. Guys, I'm just telling you to think for yourself. Here you go. You ready? The heat and the radiation from a nuclear bomb comes from the fission trigger. The neutrons that are released are the heat and the radiation. So if you get rid of that fission trigger, if you get rid of the A-bomb, and now you're just left with the fusion payload, and your fusion payload is aneutronic, using either helium-3, boron-11, or lithium-6, lithium-7, now you have no neutrons. You have no heat. Or you have very little. I think the ratios are roughly from 80% neutrons down to like 1% neutrons, an 80-fold decrease. So what are you left with? What are you left with if you have a bang without any heat, without any radiation?
If you could create a pure fusion explosion, it would be non-radioactive. There would be no fallout, which is an incredibly useful nuclear bomb, because if you have forces waiting to occupy an area that's just been nuked, they don't have to worry about the radiation. They can move in right away and secure the site, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the other thing about it, is that what they discovered, and this is why the technology was never released to the Argentine people, in these liter and half-liter containers that Perón was bragging about, is that this plasma fusion warps space-time locally. Something happens with clean plasma fusion where it's like a vortex opens up, and the nuclear explosion that takes place, it's like it's the end of a straw that then sucks in background energy from the 0-point field. So if you could find a way to control that, you could use plasma fusion to tap into the 0-point field and get basically unlimited energy, what we call 0-point energy. So in essence, there's a certain kind of
So there you go. And what does he say? It's like a straw tapping into the 0-point energy. It also sounds like he's explaining entanglement, right? When we imagine entanglement, this connection between 2 points, if I flip this one, it flips this one. It's almost like there's an invisible vortex connecting the two of them. Same like when we were looking at the vortex in the pool, where the vortexes were connected by a hidden invisible tunnel between them. This is why free energy, fusion, and space-time manipulation are all connected. And I agree. What Jason Giorgiani is describing right there is that fusion, at least aneutronic fusion, possibly all fusion, functionally acts as a pump, a tap, tapping into 0 point energy, tapping into space-time, and then just energy is coming flying out. Now, that's extremely dangerous. You can imagine, well, what happens if the tap opens up too much? Too much energy comes flowing out. Paul Siz even mentioned this. Paul Siz mentioned this directly when he was talking about 0 point energy. I'm going to let Jason finish here, though, because I have so much respect for Jason, by the way, guys.
Magnetic plasma fusion of nuclear isotopes, which can be used to open a vortex that channels and funnels energy from the 0 point field. And there's your free energy that people have been talking about. That's the power source of a flying saucer, of a UFO.
Boom, baby. That's your free energy. That's your power source for your flying saucer, for your UFO. It's warping space-time. It's aneutronic fusion. This is why Hal Puthoff said the same thing. And I bet you nobody knew why Hal Puthoff was saying that the power source for UFOs is either 0 point energy or aneutronic fusion. He was saying that because he knew the answer to these questions. Because, guys, there's a lot of people that know the answer to these questions. Hal Puthoff knows the answer. Glenn Gaffney knows the answer. Even President Barack Obama knows the answer. The part that's scary about this to me is the silence, is the reasons for why all these people are, there's this curtain of silence around this technology. How have all of these people been convinced to stay silent? Some of them haven't been silent. Some of them have been vocal. In fact, I'm going to play the Paul Siz clip because our last video was all about Paul Siz. And I think this one here is the one.
We talk about 0 point energy. What that means is,
by the way, this is the guy, guys. This is the guy. We were reviewing his hypersonic thing. Was that Friday, right? I think it was just Friday. This is him right here. This is him with Stephen Greer in like the 2000s.
Comes down to rest. There's still energy left. It's like sea level in the ocean. And there is a constant flow of energy between matter and antimatter as it annihilates itself and recreates itself.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. Because he says something about people. Here we go. This is what we want.
It's the background for the universe to exist. You know, there are people who have been experimenting with 0 point energy or try to tap 0 point energy for years. Every once in a while, someone will do it accidentally. They'll call it cold fusion, but I don't think it's cold fusion. I just think it's a 0 point energy tap.
Boom! Ugh. I wish I could hug this man so much, chat. I know he's out there and I know he's watching over us because, just to be perfectly honest, Paul Siz has taught me more in death than most teachers, if not all teachers, ever have in life. I still remember at the beginning of this clip, this was one of the first clips that I ever clipped together myself. You can see my thing in the top right there. And this was even before I really understood 0 point energy. And the way he describes it is like ocean level. Made so much sense from that perspective. Oh, it's like ocean level. Like, of course, there's something below sea level. We just don't see it, right? But it's there. We know it's there. And there he is saying, people will tap 0 point energy and they'll call it cold fusion. But I think it's just a 0 point energy tap. Do you know why that's such a huge statement for him to make? Think about the context. He can only mean the context that was just described by Jason Giorgiani. What he's saying right there is he's saying that, boom, he's saying that cold fusion is actually tapping into a resource that is out there that's currently being, not say discredited, but discounted. It's being discounted as this minimal thing that can't be interacted with, but it can be. To me, that's huge. I want to play the end part of this as well, because he explains the why. He explains the why. I think this is it here. Let me just play this last minute.
To it, it would be like taking and going out to the Great Lakes and taking out one drop and using it. You'd hardly miss it. The people that, if there are a group of people in the world that have access to it, I don't think they know how to let go of it because they're afraid who's going to get their hands on it. Even though there'd be tremendous benefit to mankind in getting us energy sources that we wouldn't have the problems we have with today, they're also worried about that somebody could take that same energy source and do the equivalent of what they did with the coal, of instead of blowing a hole inside, just obliterating the whole ship.
There it is, right? And that plays perfectly into what we're going to look at next. Because he says, I think somebody's afraid and they don't know how to let go of this technology. That's almost like Paul Sizz is talking to Glenn Gaffney. And he's going, the CIA has this technology. The U.S. military has this technology. And they don't know how to let go of it. They don't know how to let it filter into the public because they're afraid that our adversaries are going to get it. They're afraid that somebody's going to get it and blow us all up with it. And then you ask, well, what is the answer then? How do you do it? How would you do it if you were the government, if you were the CIA? If I was the CIA in that respect, I would bleed it out to the public behind the scenes. I would bleed it out, and I would need people who are in a position to understand the technology, understand the implications and the dangers of the technology, that could advise where we should be spending the money to allow that technology to develop without us having to openly disclose it. That's what I would do. And that's what Glenn Gaffney is. That's our main topic for tonight. That's what Glenn Gaffney is and was for the CIA. He was that guy. So I watched a couple of videos of him. I read through an written out interview that this guy did. And I want to present some high-level points, and I want to go through his history and background, and then I want to watch a little bit of one of his own presentations that he did. Glenn Gaffney admitted that he worked on special access programs. He had a 31-year career in intelligence. In fact, some of this, I'm going to read off my Grok thing here for you guys. I'll even just pull it up. I don't have to be stingy about this here, so you guys can see what I'm looking at. No, that would be weird. There you go. Okay. And by the way, I have a list of all of them. So this is something I did even before I decided to start going after Glenn Gaffney, was I wanted to know who all of the deputy directors for science and technology from the CIA were, because this is definitely the position I'm interested in. The people that are in this role are going to know about the technology. They're going to have to know about it. Probably all of them do. And so I wanted to know about this guy's life. 31-year career. Glenn Gaffney grew up during the Cold War. This is also important because it's important to understand the psychological profile of the CIA operatives. And before I dig into this, people may ask, Ashton, why are you going after the CIA operatives? I said I was going to. I always said I was going to. And really the only reason why I didn't start going after them beforehand is because I didn't know who to target. And now I know. Now I know. Glenn Gaffney knows. I'm 100% sure Glenn Gaffney knows. If you were to confront Glenn Gaffney with the MH370 videos, I guarantee he knows the exact asset that is recording in those videos. That's how certain I am about it. His position, his background, and everything. It's important to understand, though, because these are the people that are, during these UFO hearings, when people are saying it's not the appointed officials that are ones that are hiding this. It's the career people in the CIA. Glenn Gaffney is one of those career people in the CIA. It's people exactly like this guy that spent 30 plus years in the CIA. They're the ones that have this. And what I would say is that he seems like a good guy. Seems like a nice guy. These people that are the gatekeepers, they're not movie villains. They're not evil people. That's something I think a lot of people are going to struggle to accept, is that the people that we are going after that are the gatekeepers, they're the people that we look up to, the people that we respect, the people like the Hal Puthoffs of the world. Those are the gatekeepers too. That's the sad situation we find ourselves in, is that our enemies are people we respect, people that we look up to. So he wanted to go to NASA, but they told him he needed 5 years experience. So he ended up getting recruited into the CIA out of college. He started at, what was the university? Rhode Island State University, something like that. Somewhere up here, it says. Crap. So he joined the Cold War. He emphasized collaborative problem-solving nature of intelligence work. And he spoke, this clip as well. He said, I forgot to play this clip. Let's play this right now. Listen to this. This is a real clip.
In order to ensure that the components that we needed, the capabilities that we needed, were being developed and then integrated to do things that most people didn't know we could do. And I've had the great blessing and privilege to be part of groups over my career that achieve things that most people didn't think were possible. I often said at CIA, we did the stuff Hollywood only dreamed about.
Wow. Wow. At the CIA, we did the things Hollywood only dreamed about. You got me on high alert, my dog. You got me on high alert, my honky. Say that one more time.
Things that most people didn't think were possible. I often said at CIA, we did the stuff Hollywood only dreamed about.
Wow. Now, the reason why I think that's significant is because remember the letter to Ashton Forbes? Glenn Gaffney is the type of person that could have sent me that letter as well, by the way. The letter to Ashton Forbes was all about the operation being this movie-like production. In fact, that was the specific metaphor they used, that it was like a Hollywood movie. Every movie has fire, whatever they say, regret. And then when the villain is at his lowest point, they get knocked down again. That is exactly how these people think. And there's Glenn Gaffney using the exact same analogy. Hollywood wishes they could do what we do. You mean like teleporting airplanes out of the sky? Like gravity manipulation, plasma orbs, and fusion reactors? I don't think he's lying when he's saying that. I think he's being 100% truthful. And that's what people have a hard time absorbing, is they know the CIA is doing operations, but what do those operations actually look like? What do they look like if we were to see them? So he went into the CIA and he fell in love with the CIA. Fell in love with it, spent 31 years in the intelligence community. I think he was with the DNI as well for a while. And then he spent time on advisory boards. He doesn't have any public social media. They never do. The CIA, what do they call themselves? They don't call themselves agents, right? It says officers. The CIA officers don't have any social media almost ever. Oh, he graduated from New Jersey Institute of Technology with a bachelor's degree in engineering science with a strong focus in physics. By the way, guys, I graduated from university as well. There's no such thing as like a focus. You have majors. Maybe he's talking about major. Maybe that's the equivalent. He customized his program to include courses in electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, and physics. As a part of a small cohort of about 26 students interested in fields such as nuclear engineering. Okay, chat. Hold up. I didn't think we were going to play. Okay, so looking at his background right now, I mean, that is the background of somebody who knows about some electrogravitics. What have we learned? nuclear engineering, electrical engineering, and physics. I was telling my my cousin or my second cousin, whatever they are, my cousin's child, I was telling him, you need to get into electrical engineering. If you're going to do any engineering at all, electrical engineering, Tesla was right, guaranteed that's where you want to be. So when I see electrical engineering, nuclear physics, all this other stuff, I'm going, okay, you got the right profile. His senior project explored astrophysics, specifically interactions between plasma and magnetic fields in stars. I mean, that's oddly specific, chat. Glenn Gaffney's senior college project was on plasma and magnetic fields and stars, was on magnetohydrodynamics. Yeah, he knows about the orbs, guys. Okay, his career timeline. Let's just skip ahead a little bit here. So he started as an analyst focused on Soviet space systems. So this is interesting too, because in this timeline we've developed, after the Cold War would have been when the United States won the Cold War from modernizing this nuclear technology, this teleportation technology, this plasma orb technology, whatever it is. So his timeline for when he's developed, by the way, 1985, that's the same year Charles Chase joined Lockheed Martin. What are the odds that Charles Chase, senior fellow of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, leader of the Revolutionary Technologies Division, personally knows Glenn Gaffney, who is the director of the Science and Technology Department of the CIA? What are the odds? I don't know. I'm telling you right now, this isn't a trick or anything like that. I'm just literally asking you what the odds are. I think the odds are 100%. I don't know. I have only spoken to Charles Chase in an email that I've read on my stream, and I've never spoken to Glenn Gaffney. But I'll go ahead and say right now that Glenn Gaffney and Charles Chase know each other. And I'll say I'm 100% sure. I would love to know. Let's keep going. Then in the 90s, he went on to found the CIA's cyber component. So even before the internet was big, he founded the CIA's cyber component, directed it, and then built capabilities for intelligence operations and cyber intelligence. In the 2000s, he led human capital initiatives, established a talent center to address recruitment, training, and retention across the agency. 2005, Deputy Director for National Intelligence for Collection. So this is like, now he's ODNI. So now he's in like underneath the Director of National Intelligence, I think. Oversaw all intelligence community collection programs, focused on integrated strategies for key national security areas, fostering collaboration. Also served as the Associate Deputy Director for National Intelligence and Strategy and Plans. So now you say, Ashton, this wasn't just a guy that was procuring technologies for the CIA. This is somebody who's hands-on. This is somebody who's writing plans and operations, probably watching them and directing them go down as well. This guy was not a small fry at all. And the achievements and accolades we're seeing here from his positions, I'm going to go ahead and say, guys, he knows about MH370. He may have actually been the guy that helped write the plan for the operation. Okay. Because now also, this is under Obama. This is under Obama, right? Obama 2008. So then while in the CIA under Obama, from the exact years that MH370 happened, he becomes the Director of Science and Technology for the CIA. So Glenn Gaffney, between 2009 and 2015, when MH370 happened, Glenn Gaffney was the Science and Technology Director for the CIA. There it is right there in writing. Led the Department of Science and Technology, described as his favorite role. Oversaw technical collection, research and development, and partnerships, including with the NSA. Managed operations in identity intelligence, space weapon analysis. What the hell does that mean? Space weapon analysis? Chat. We're exposing Glenn Gaffney in 4K. Space weapon analysis and frontline tech deployment. Frontline tech deployment. Say these words 3 times fast, Glenn Gaffney. For the CIA operatives watching, if you don't like Glenn Gaffney, I'm your best friend right now. Frontline tech deployment, space weapons analysis. And then what do you do after that? He went to executive vice president and senior fellow of Q Tel, the CIA's nonprofit venture capital arm. 2017 through 2022, directed Q Tel Labs bridged government needs with startups in AI, quantum computing, biotech, and more. You could not come up with a spookier resume. You literally couldn't invent a spookier resume. Like, hey, bro, I'm under the national intelligence. I'm in the CIA for a career, man. And then when I left the CIA, when he left the CIA in 2016, he went to Q Tel, which is another CIA company, where they literally just invest in companies and technologies that they know are going to work, that the public has no idea about. That's what they do. Or they invest in things like Palantir. Yes, this is real. They invest in places like Palantir, and Palantir becomes this huge defense contractor just because of connections, because that's how the world goes and works around. So let's keep going here because it's going to get spicy in a second. Okay, and then he has some other noble reach and some advisory board positions, including national security. His recognitions: 2 presidential rank awards, 2 National Intelligence Distinguished Service Medals, 3 CIA Director Awards. He won 3 Director Awards while he was under Obama as the Director of Science and Technology. In the years between 2019, he potentially won 3 awards right around MH370. 2 distinguished CIA service medals. By the way, I tried to look these up, what these are for. They're all classified. You can't even figure out what they won these awards for. Public drama and controversies. I said, Grok, give me all the spice. Give me all the sauce. So, UFO gatekeeper in 2024, Liberation Times outed Gaffney as a legacy gatekeeper in the UFO retrieval exploitation programs. If you're wondering why I'm not saying UAP, I never will say those letters unless it is in the context in which I just said right now. It is always going to be UFOs. It's never going to be UAPs. Stop trying to make UAP happen. It's never going to happen, chat. It's going to be UFOs. Sources allege that during his DS&T tenure, he blocked the transfer of purported non-human materials from Lockheed Martin to programs like ASAP, Advanced Aerospace Weapons and Research Program, run by Bigelow Aerospace, which was Hal Puthoff's thing. So the rumors claim, the report claims from the Liberation Times, that Glenn Gaffney prevented some alien technology from getting sent from Lockheed Martin. So he protected Lockheed Martin, supposedly. The decision was reportedly formalized by Robert Cardillo, a former ODNI official, but sources claim Gaffney was the driving force. He's also accused of making threats to Lockheed executives to maintain custody through the CIA's Office of Global Access, which operates under the DS&T. And handles denied area access and material retrievals. Holy shit, chat. We got him. That last bit was the biggest part. The rest of it is all, he said, she said. I mean, I believe it. I believe that he helped Lockheed Martin. Now, I would bet good money that he helped block and protect Lockheed Martin. But the last part, who is it that controls the Office of Global Access? The DS&T. The people that control the Office of Global Access is the Director of Science and Technology. So this is huge. This is boom, drop the mic. Wait, where is it? Where's my guy?
Imbalance.
Great.
This is the thing that we were looking for, because now we know who knows. Anybody in that role probably has to get read into this technology. These are the career lifers where they have like a, you know, the new Pope TV show where it's like, who's going to be the person that's going to be the next director of science and technology? It has to be someone that we trust, someone that has, you know, high moral standing and can keep a secret and all this other bullshit, right? And the former people are probably the people that help decide who the next person is going to be. So we found them. That's it. This is, he knows. I would, just from reading this, but there's more. Congressional and public scrutiny. Investigative journalist George Knapp named Gaffney in a September 9th congressional UFO hearing as a key gatekeeper alongside of the late Jim Ryder, Lockheed Martin VP. Congressman Burleson has indicated Gaffney is on a list of potential subpoena by the House Oversight Committee. Advocates like Tim Ford and Christopher Sharp of the Libertarian Times have called for investigations, framing Gaffney's actions as a disservice to democracy by hiding special access programs and controlled access programs from Congress. Also, that part about him threatening Lockheed executives, how much do you want to bet? These are things that I don't know, but I know you know. You know, I know. I'm doing the Candace Owens thing. I don't know, but I know, you know. I don't know, but I know that somebody from the CIA gave Charles Chase a call and said, don't talk to that Ashton Forbes guy. In fact, be very careful what you say to that Ashton Forbes guy, or just say in public at all, related to 2 videos that are swirling around the internet showing 3 plasma orbs teleporting in an airplane. Because let's be honest, guys. Military videos of plasma orbs teleporting in an airplane should be drawing a little bit more attention from some of these people whose like life's work is this subject. These people's life's work is this subject. Charles Chase's life's work is electromagnetism and plasma and all this shit, free energy. Hal Puthoff's life work is all this stuff on display, and they have no interest in it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to respond to inquiries about it. It's like, something's not adding up. A bunch of science nerds that are electrical engineers that love UFO phenomenon don't want anything to do with seeing their work in 4K. I love it. I think I know why. Chat. And by the way, I'm looking for Glenn Gaffney's email because that will be the sweetest conversation. I would like to formally request Glenn Gaffney. This is a formal invitation for you to come on Hard Truths podcast with Ashton Forbes. I think it would be a very illuminating, educational Hard Truths podcast where we can get to the truth. Glenn Gaffney in this video we're going to watch talks about getting to the truth as his favorite thing. That's the goal of the CIA, is to get to the truth. Let's get to some truth, my dude. Come on to the Hard Truths podcast and we will get to some truth. You give me 1 hour and we will have full disclosure. I will get that full disclosure, my dude. You think you're CIA trained? You have never been in a MEMOR. You have never been in even one MEMOR. Your CIA training will collapse under the weight and pressure of the MH370X MEMOR. I absolutely guarantee you. Never fight a land war in China and never fight a MEMOR with MH370X. You've been warned, but you've also been invited, Mr. Glenn Gaffney. Don't say I wasn't fair, guys. I don't want to hear anything about me not being fair. Okay, let's finish up his bio here. Lastly, Glenn Gaffney's role in Q Tel includes a 2003 business relationship with Palantir and co-founder Peter Thiel. Of course it does. And there comes the hammer, chat. And there's the big reveal. Of course it does, chat. Oh. You know, I kind of feel bad that Nick Fuentes didn't want to have the conversation because I could have loaded this dude up with a lot more ammunition. I mean, Nick Fuentes, the Groypers, whatever, they hate the CIA. They, hate the intelligence communities. They hate Palantir. Guys, you have barely scratched the surface. You have barely scratched the surface of the corruption. So here you go. Glenn Gaffney's role at Q Tel included a 2003 business relationship with Palantir Technologies and co-founder Peter Thiel. Of course, and Peter Thiel's connected to our probably next future president, J.D. Vance. Surprise, surprise. Which some UAP researchers link with broader secrecy networks. Online discussions speculate involvement in decades-long CIA DoD UAP retrievals. Gaffney has reportedly denied blocking the Lockheed transfer, but has called for fueled calls for testimony. So there you go. I tried to dig into his metals, but we couldn't find anything about it. Nothing in there, chat. Okay. Next, 2 more things to dig into here. I've also got his LinkedIn. I'm not going to pull it up just because there's no reason to, and I'm not trying to dox him or whatever. So, okay, here's another quick bio about the guy. I think the rest of these I can just share. So Glenn Gaffney joined the team in 2023. This is the Noble Reach Foundation. When Emerge was spun out from Q Tel. Of course it did. And a new merger with Global Reach. So basically, this company was spun out from Q Tel and merged with another company. So basically, this is just a CIA company that he was with. So when people say you never leave the CIA, you never leave the CIA. You just go from CIA to CIA front company, basically. And then when Q Tel becomes a well-known name for the CIA, they just be like, okay, now we're Noble Reach. Now we're Noble Reach. I mean, what do these people even do? Are we going to find these people don't actually even do anything? Because I think that's what we're going to find out. Okay, so before that, he served government 31 years. He was science and technology for the CIA, deputy director of national intelligence for collection, and the associate director of the CIA for talent. Throughout his career, he led new endeavors, analysis of space and advanced conventional weapon systems, information operations, and identity intelligence. So there you go. Then you see some of his awards that he got. Okay. I found this interview. This transcript interview, and I wrote down a few notes from it that I wanted to go through. So I didn't watch all. I didn't. I don't know. Maybe there's a video for all this. I don't know. I just read it. So here we go. Here's something about Q Tel right here. Q Tel is a piece of staying competitive, gaining early access, not just to the technology via investments, but to the insights based on that strategic awareness, situational awareness that we hold by watching these markets. The sheer volume of the companies and exposure to the national, international markets that Q Tel has is a huge benefit for the U.S. What the? I'm trying not to swear, chat, and I'm trying not to crash out. They're just saying it right there. Just when I say it's hiding in plain sight, Q Tel has first access to the technology. Yeah. Like Palantir, like fusion technologies, like they said their whole purpose is to like quantum and AI technology, all these things that people don't understand what they're used for, their purpose. Yeah, because the CIA already knows. This is exactly how they're leaking these technologies to the public in the way I described. They're doing the thing that I speculated earlier. What they're doing is they're saying there's no way for us to tell the truth about this. We can't just push it out there. So instead, we're going to have CIA companies like Q Tel. They'll just strategically invest in companies that will be American, that we can control the people, and they will then exclusively give us their technologies. And now China won't have them. Now Russia won't have them. That's what they're doing. There you go. It's right there. Okay, there's more. I don't know if that was even one of the clips I wanted to pull out. It might be. Hold on. Let me speak real quickly about the tragedy of the commons. I hope I'm going to say this right. I'm probably going to butcher the analogy a little bit. The tragedy of the commons is a free market economics concept. that imagine we all live on a plot of land and we all have our own little piece of this land and we manage and grow crops that we use to make money on this land. So therefore, each of us is responsible for our own piece of land. So we therefore take care of it and we make sure that that land is always able to grow the food that we need. But then you have the common area. And anybody is allowed to grow in the common area. And nobody is required to take care of the common area. And so what ends up happening is, well, human nature happens. People will grow in the common area, but they will not fertilize the ground. They will not take care of the soil. So what ends up happening is the crops don't produce as much. Or you can produce the crops, but now the next year the soil is not worth it anymore. It can't work anymore. So human nature is what actually ends up holding us back in a free market. And this is why a perfectly free market economy won't work. Because of corruption. Because of human greed. Because when the negative externalities are pushed onto society, we always screw each other over. We don't ever look out for the other people. We only look out for ourselves. And this is what I think has happened with this technology is we've forgotten that we are in the tragedy of the commons right now. The tragedy of the commons is that we had no safeguards to reveal this technology that could change the world. Everybody could be eating as much as they want. But instead, only a select few are. Only a select few have it. And they've been gatekeeping it from everybody else. It's like the equivalent of somebody found out there's another plot of land. Holy shit. Turns out there's a whole nother plot of land in the tragedy of the commons, but only 2 people knew about it and they're not telling anybody else. And everybody's wondering how those people have so much food every year while everybody else is struggling. That's why the tragedy of the commons applies, because I want to understand and rationalize how we got to this point. How have humans psychologically gotten to this point? I think the problem is us, human nature. Tragedy of the commons isn't the problem of our creators. Tragedy of the commons is a problem of humans. It's a problem of human nature. That's the real issue. And that's what you learn from economics, is that while a free market economy in theory is pretty clearly the best option, a perfectly free market economy with no guardrails will lead to disaster, will lead to ruin, because everybody will cheat. They always do. Okay. That was my little rant. Let's go back to this. I'm going to do a control find here. Okay. So Glenn Gaffney said he was going to just be there for a few years, but fell in love with it. He said a key moment in anyone's career, as I started, and you begin a career just as I did. You work on issues related to space systems of the Soviet Union, outer space. There's not a lot we can talk about on the work you did there, but it does give me an opportunity to use that to ask you about the importance of space today, right? Space is a battlefield. The threats we face in space from China and Russia. How do you think about all of that? How do you sort all of that? Gaffney says, I think space is a critical domain for us. As a scientist, it's a critical domain just because of what it means for exploration and understanding. He says something about China here as well. I think right down here. Oh, for military operations, it became one of the key elements of the way we could see over the Iron Curtain, right? And listen over the Iron Curtain. And as such, is a very important aspect of our ability and our understanding of what's capable in that domain. An important part of our own defense, defending our own secrets, defending our own military and military operations, those types of things. I think he mentions China. Here we go. Boom. And primarily from China or China Plus. And what does he say? What year was this, by the way? He says, I think it's primarily from China. but it's China plus. I think you can't rule out the Russians. We never could, and I don't believe you can today. So right there, he's saying that China is the threat. China is the threat. And somewhere in here, he talks about their intellectual property. There it is. He says, I think it's a great question. He says, so how should people think of what's fair game in the cyber world and what's not fair game? And Glenn Gaffney says, if they are there, it is in the realm of intelligence collection information, trying to develop information that helps good policy be formed or whatever the national policy formed. That's part of the business. And that's part of the way that we would approach that business. It's very difficult, though. When you think you're talking about things like stealing intellectual property. Wow. So stealing intellectual property. And then he says, we don't do that. No. The United States does not do that. It has never done that. That's right. It does not do that. We don't engage in economic espionage from that perspective. Also attacks on infrastructure that can be incredibly debilitating. So to me, that's a head nod. That's a head nod straight up to basically this UFO technology, zero-point energy technology, and to the intellectual property theft of MH370 in China. Okay. I think one of the big challenges that we have today is a number of our capabilities in the space arena have atrophied over the years. When the wall came down, there was a peace dividend, and there was a drawback, a natural drawback. Choices had to be made. And a number of those choices came at reducing our level of spending on the space program. And that wasn't just the visible parts of the space program. It was also the intelligence parts of the space program. Many of us cautioned at the time that while we slowed down and pulled back, adversaries wouldn't. And it would take on the order of 20 years to gain back some of the things that we were going to give up. What is he talking about here? Is this not the weirdest paragraph ever? What is he talking about? Give up and take 20 years to get back from the space program? Do you know what this reminds me of when I listen to this? This reminds me of the fog bank material, the nuclear weapon material that we lost and we forgot and we had to reverse engineer. In fact, this sounds exactly like that. This is like the story of that sounds just like what he's saying right here. He might even be referring to that for all I know. But that's just a very weird thing to say. And I think we're seeing the realities of that today, where China and Russia have continued to build and invest in their capabilities of this area as well as others. Wow. And this actually leads me to one other thing, which I forgot to share here. But I'm just reading it here. You can check it out on my profile. Said, breaking fusion breakthrough. Says, China's fusion pioneers have just ignited plasma in their revolutionary linear field reverse configuration device. Commercial star power now targeted towards 2028. Unlimited clean energy is coming. Humanity's energy crisis ends. A new era of abundance begins. Hashtag unlimited energy with the Chinese flag. Holy shit. I'll pull it up on the screen. I'll pull it up on the screen. There it is. And it's got an AI image here. So when you talk about China stealing our technology, that is Exhibit A. Field reverse configuration, neutronic fusion. They literally just stole helium fusion and tri-alpha energies thing. Does it look familiar too? Does it look like our magnetic mirror? You remember our magnetic mirror configurations that we've been reviewing the last week? It looks just like it with the rings. That's good. They just straight up copied our shit. They straight up copied our shit. And so when Glenn Gaffney is talking about in that interview, I'll pull it back up. That's what he's referring to, in my opinion. He's talking about the fact that we've let China now catch up to us. We've let China catch up to us because we've had this technology since the 60s, and we could have been advancing and developing it, but someone made the choice that we got to bury it. which was dumb because eventually it's going to come out anyway. So we should have been taking advantage. And Marco Rubio talks about this specifically. Says if we have this advantage, weapons, technology advantage, we should be leveraging it while we can, because eventually China's going to catch up. They're going to catch up to us. Yeah, and by the way, for people saying this is amazing, this is the stuff that I love, chat. I love science and physics, but I also love true crime and like understanding the origins of this stuff. And so if you're enjoying this as much as I am, all I did is like Google Glenn Gaffney and interview and just start looking for videos and interviews he's done. Because once you know what you're looking for, it's awesome to look at these conversations in this new light where you're like, wait, this guy knew about this the whole time? Okay, so let's go listen to some of his conversations, any clues we can find. Okay. A couple more parts here, because there's more in this interview here. There's actually a lot to go through. I don't think we're going to get through all of it tonight here. Autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles, right? And yes, you go into autonomous vehicles, right? When you start thinking about all the different ways that a would-be attacker might exploit these systems, we are creating more and more attack surface in this space. One of my friends calls the internet the internet of things, the internet of threats, because it just sees the way it is expanding. So he's talking about cyber attacks and drones. What year was this? Let me look. 2018. So this was 7 years ago. So it wasn't early 2000s, but still pretty far there. And he says he was the deputy director of National Intelligence for Collection Laws and Integrated Strategies. Here it is. And one of the things that we focused on, what we called integrated collection strategies, kind of what I was just talking about. It was the way we thought about going after a particular target and bringing an integrative program together and doing that. Now, when I'm looking at this, guys, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking about Gorgon Stare. This guy almost certainly helped procure Gorgon Stare for the CIA. And the version we're looking at might be a customized version that the CIA took that Gorgon Stare software and they might have made it their own. We might actually be looking at a custom version of Gorgon Stare made specifically for the CIA. I don't really know what they do, but he's kind of alluding throughout this interview and others that they basically procure assets and then they use them for CIA operations. Let's see. What did he say? Where's the integrated thing? What does he say? Integrated collection strategy. Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. So oh yeah, here it is right here. I was a deputy director for National Intelligence for Collection Laws. We had one deputy director for collection and one for analysis. So he was like the second or third highest ranking person in the DNI as well. Now, one more video to watch. And this is a full interview I found. We're not going to watch the whole thing. Full interview I found with Glenn Gaffney from 2008. I think this is while he was, Deputy Director for National Intelligence for Collection, Glenn Gaffney, talks about future intelligence collection and open source information. So while I find the spots that I want, I'm just going to let him start talking here. I think he comes in like 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in. Where is he? Here he is.
See you tomorrow. True, I see no need to advertise. It contributes, that lack of owning that technological playing field creates a more level playing field across the board. Okay. When you take that piece and then you look at what could argue be the cost per bit of information globally goes down weekly.
Okay, here we go.
Add to that the cost of entry into the intelligence business has gone down dramatically. A laptop and a modem, and you're in the game.
Okay, I'm going to skip ahead
in terms of 3 Venn diagrams that overlap. Humid, that which we collect, and that in the information.
Oh, this was pretty interesting, actually.
It's not 3 overlapping circles anymore. It's 2 overlapping circles, if you will, the human and the technical pieces that are operating in an information plane, in an information universe. We can't just limit our thinking to that one simple circle. And
what do you notice, chat, on this image? I wanted to talk about this image. So Glenn Gaffney was talking about how the CIA integrated with basically what he was talking about is how the CIA integrates with narratives and how CIA influences information. And he said we had to update our view of how this works. And this is 2008, by the way. What do you notice on his new updated slide? What does that say at the bottom there? Academia. It says academia, open source information, military, private sector, academia. They're touching everything. They're touching everything. International partners. This is they are influencing every aspect of our society. Media, academia, government, private sector, everything. When I say like everything is manufactured, we live in a shared delusion. This is what I'm referring to. The world we live in is a fiction that we've all agreed to believe in. Put that on a t-shirt. Okay, let's skip ahead a little bit because he talks about intellectual property here a couple minutes ahead, right around here.
In this area. Again, why I'm excited by what we've got here, what's represented here, the talent, the thought that's represented in this room. Now, I've got several boundaries here that we need to look at relative to capacity requirements and the way that we work the mission space. But I've also got another piece on the other side that talks about our need to manage concerns on things like intellectual property, privacy, right, and the policy concerns that exist at each of those boundaries, and maybe some that we haven't even discovered yet.
Did he just say the concerns related to intellectual property? Wow, chat. I watched this already, so I was just kind of spoilery, but they really did run an operation on MH370. They really did. They had to have written up the policy that would have said, we can't let China steal our intellectual property. And Obama was the one that pulled the trigger and said, okay, this is our policy. We're not going to let China steal our intellectual property. And in response, we're going to conduct operations to prevent them from doing so. And one of those operations was MH370, which actually, up until this point, I'm with you. You've got my full support, CIA. But you know you messed up. You messed up when you broke out the free energy plasma orbs that manipulate space-time. That's where you done messed up. That's where you got your ego, your hubris got the better of you. Somebody said, you know what would be cool for this operation? We broke out those secret plasma orbs. There's literally no reason to do that. None whatsoever. But that would be dope if we did that. We could just flex. That's where you messed up.
Being sensitive to those is absolutely critical as we move this forward. And there's an entire session in this conference on national intelligence and privacy. It becomes how we think about privacy and security as opposed to security versus privacy.
Okay, we're going to skip ahead a little bit here. But
analysts, get in here and do everything you can to break.
By the way, I think he talks about AI here, which is weird because he has some weird references to quantum and stuff, which I think could have been referencing AI and emerging technologies, which wouldn't be weird, except that this is 7 years before AI, first AI company. This is 2008. OpenAI didn't start till 2015. So if he's talking about AI in 2008, this is like so before the times. You have to start to wonder, how did he know about all this? And the answer, of course, is they knew about AI because they had military AI probably 2 decades before we had it in the public.
Break the system. Push it beyond what we've designed it for. And when it breaks, tell the guy who's sitting right next to you, who's from my perspective, and again.
Oh, I kind of skipped ahead of this, but he talks about how they redid the entire intelligence apparatus system. And he's basically talking about it like they're building AI. He says, we bring in all these experts and we have our coder and we have the experts review the data, the analysis, the information. And when something breaks, basically what he's saying is pull in all this information from different sources and then spit back a profile about Ashton Forbes and give it to somebody, an expert. And then the expert's going to weigh in and tell the coder and say, well, this is wrong, or I'd like this information to be sorted this way. And then that coder now goes and takes that information and fixes the system. So he explains this for like 5 minutes straight. And I'm watching and I'm just going, is he explaining how AI got built? Because this is like teaching your computer system how to think. That's what he's describing from experts in the field. So I skipped over that, but that's basically what he says for the last 5 minutes here.
And To me, it just points at a small area of what could be a tremendous resource given this open source enterprise and where we need to go in the future. Given that, though, let's talk about just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Many of you have heard about, some may not, what we refer to as the double-humped camel, looking at the workforce dynamics, right? About 45, 50% of our workforce in the intelligence community has been here less than 5 years. First hump of the camel.
So he's alluding here to the idea that the information won't stay in the system. We need people that are going to be in the CIA for more than 5 years. This is a direct counterpart to the reason for why they don't tell temporary employees like the president about this. Because here he is, he's saying that we need people that are going to be there long term, because this is how you keep secrets. You can't have people coming in every 5 years and leaving with the secrets. We can't tell those people. That's why we have to keep the information compartmentalized. How deep does the rabbit hole go? Indeed. So if I go to 40 minutes here.
Endeavor that may have been undertaken and achieved.
Okay, let me skip a little bit before this.
It certainly won't be about that great contract that you laid down. It won't be about the amount of money you've made. Sum total of our career is going to be measured by how well we have.
I messed up.
Compare it maybe to some of your own careers. What does that mean? That means that the sum total of our career as part of this cultural change won't be about that great op that we ran. It won't be about that great technical endeavor that may have been undertaken and achieved.
He's talking here about secrecy. And he's saying, we can't talk about that great operation that we ran or that amazing technical feat that we achieved. What are they talking about, chat? Why would the CIA be achieving technical feats? I thought conspiracies don't exist, but the CIA is running covert operations that are successful that nobody knows about. So which is it? Do we do conspiracies? Does the CIA perform operations that we don't know about, or do they not perform those operations? Because here's Glenn Gaffney saying that they do, and they've got them, and they can't talk about them. And performing technical feats like teleporting airplanes. I mean, this was obviously before MH370, but I think they've been in this business for a long time. I mean, I don't know if they've been teleporting airplanes for that long, but they've been doing some crazy stuff for sure. One of the things I think is important is that he talks about 9/11 shaping his beliefs. Now, this is me reaching a little bit. I'm reaching here for my narrative, but I have a strong suspicion that we didn't just destroy half the Middle East for no reason. I think that there may be a connection, some connection between this technology and the reason why we went after the Middle East. One, we may have developed it in response to 9/11. I think there's another possibility that Saddam Hussein was trying to achieve this technology and get this technology, which we then called nuclear weapons because we didn't want the public to know what they were trying to do. I think you could also say that our response, the reason why we destroyed the Middle East, is that we looked at this technology and the future of this technology, and we realized that there are primitive civilizations on this planet that cannot coexist with this technology. And so we turned Islam into the bad guys because Islam represents jihad and suicide bombing, which is not compatible with 0-point energy, infinite energy weapons, right? So there's a few different ways that you can look at it from my perspective. And so when you hear that these career CIA guys who are in a position to know were heavily influenced by the Cold War, heavily influenced by 9/11, it fits. It fits. They have the patriotism, the pride in their country to hide this. And they have been given a reason to hide it. One that they can believe in. One that they won't squeal about. This is the reason why you see them avoiding the Ashton Forbeses of the world. Because people like me are the kryptonite. It's easy to bullshit somebody who has no idea. Somebody who, like these media people, these journalists who have no clue. Talking to Glenn Gaffney, they got no idea what he knows about. If somebody like me interviews Glenn Gaffney, we're talking about neutronic fusion. We're talking about whether or not free energy is possible. We're talking about teleportation, whether or not the government has it. We're talking about how we conduct covert operations. These are things that they don't want to answer questions on these topics. These are not the Saturday morning topics for, ABC, right? Okay, I think there's one more clip. Oh yeah, this is the thing, because I told you guys, this is basically your moment of zen as well here. I told you, like, why does he say he did this? What is his justification? Here you go.
Intelligence and how we bring that together for a new level of integrated performance. What we can learn in this community and how we lay it over on the other part of the community. It's important for us to remember that we're not bound for our individual idea. We're not bound to our individual program. We're not bound to this agency, this enterprise, this university, this piece. It doesn't matter. We are bound to truth. Ladies and gentlemen, the name of the game today is the same that it has always been. It is the pursuit of truth.
How did he say that with a straight face? Oh my God. This guy could maybe break a lie detector. Holy crap. Get this guy on the stand-up routine. Get him on Joe Rogan as the next biggest comedian. He's in it for the truth, chat. The CIA gatekeeper guy hiding free energy and fusion and teleportation technology says he's in it for the truth. Wow, that's some compartmentalization in your mind to be able to stretch and pull that one off. Holy crap. Give this guy the gold medal in the mental gymnastics here. What do you mean, the truth for the government and the CIA, but not for us? Is that what you mean? The whole point of the CIA is to not have the truth come out to people. Like quite literally the opposite of that. The point of the CIA is for them to have the truth and for them to not let anybody else know about the actual truth. Whoa. Glenn Gaffney had me up until there, chat. You lost me on that one. I got to replay it because I'm sure if I went through a time warp or what just happened right there. I can't believe the words that I just heard come out of this man's mouth.
Over on the other part of the community. It's important for us to remember that we're not bound for our individual idea. We're not bound to our individual program. We're not bound to this agency, this enterprise, this university, this piece. It doesn't matter. We are bound to truth. Ladies and gentlemen, the name of the game today is the same that it has always been. It is the pursuit of truth. We refer to it as...
I'm sorry. I can't stop laughing at that. Okay, guys. That's Glenn Gaffney. I will say, obviously, he's a good speaker. Obviously, he's highly intelligent. Obviously, I'm very glad that we have had him on our side. But now it's time to fess up. The cat's out of the bag. The secret's out. MH370 videos are all over the internet. And it wasn't that hard to figure out who leaked them. And it really wasn't that hard to figure out what the CIA has been up to. It wasn't that hard to figure out your technology you've been hiding. I told you guys, I am going to expose everything. Every technology you're hiding, all the bullshit you're doing. And I told you I was going to start making lists, including the CIA people responsible, the defense contractors responsible. And I'm doing that. Glenn Gaffney is just the first one on the list. Right at the top. Starting at the top, we'll work our way down. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's do some super chats tonight, guys. Thank you very much, everybody in the Pill chat, my boys in the Pill chat and Rumble chat. I see a few of you in the Rumble chat out there. Let's go, Brandon. I see you. Oh, boy, all the super chats tonight. Brian Pemble, I haven't seen you in a while, brother. How's it going? Says, put type 1 energy on your radar or on your Gorgon stare. Oh, and somewhere in one of those, I don't remember which one it was, Glenn Gaffney talks about integrating these technologies together, which is where I was like, wait a minute. Glenn Gaffney might be literally the guy that procured the Gorgon stare from Sierra Nevada Corporation. He might be like the actual guy that did that. So pretty amazing. So, okay, type 1 energy, put it on your radar as well. I think that if you are investing in these nuclear reactor companies and fusion reactor companies, they're not all going to be successful, but that's a pretty good bet in general. War Ranch LLC, thank you very much. COVID scamdemic, the before times chat, the before times. Mick Leonard says, best show on Prison Planet. Very likely we are on a prison planet. That's, I mean, if you think about it, What would you call a situation where science is being kept hidden from you, major truths about reality are being kept hidden from you, and you are being forced to work when there's really no reason whatsoever? To me, that's a prison. That's a prison to me. Dino Complizier says, Brody, please make an own news channel. Call it 4 Odds. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Timothy Foster, these are the last days. Satan absolutely hates humans because God chose humans to be his family. We kindred warrior spirits will have to stand against Satan's hate and escalation. There was a time when I would have thought this is schizo crazy nonsense, but between the combination of hyper advanced technology being clearly suppressed from us, as well as its unknown origins, as well as what it means for us as a civilization, this doesn't even seem that far-fetched anymore. The more I think about it, the more I think about like why aliens won't talk to us, it becomes more and more spiritual. Like perhaps our aggression is a form of satanic demonism or something like that, right? Maybe our emotions can be looked at in terms of angelic or demonic. And maybe we just have too much of one of those in us. Maybe the human condition can be described in terms of a religious battle between heaven and hell. To me, that's not far-fetched anymore. And that's why when I talk to people, especially the religious people I talk to, that's why I tell them that I'm more spiritual, because the more I learn about this, the more those things seem more and more plausible to me personally. Thank you for that follow-up, War Rant. CIA in academics and media, that's a fact, absolute fact. Levi, heat is a byproduct of resistance. No resistance equals no heat. That's true. Speaks to cold electricity and Dave Rossi. I never really thought of that, but yes, it is. Heat is resistance. What happens why does an electrical wire heat up? Because the electrons hit the atoms, causes friction, vibration. And then that energy gets imparted, and now your wire starts to begin to heat up. Same reason why your phone heats up, why any circuit heats up. So if something was superconducting, no resistance, it would stay cold. It would stay room temperature the entire time. So you can see, we haven't spoken about this, but this is why superconductivity is so huge. You just think like 30% of energy is lost in the form of heat just traveling through the wires. So if we had superconducting wires everywhere, in theory, that would increase efficiency across the world by roughly 30%, just with that one change. So for the people that think we don't have a lot of improvement in power, to give you the absurdity, we are basically making AI quantum data centers that are being powered by steam. Like we're living in some kind of steampunk world. Like that's how backwards of a world we live in right now. They should be getting powered by fusion reactors. Vineyard says, side topic, have you ever seen the video, David Adair, Advanced Symbiotic Technology? I have seen some of David Adair's stuff, I think, but I can't remember the exact specific thing because there's so much lore in the UFO stuff. What I will say is like there's a common thread that all of these people are accurate about. How you interpret it, understand the physics, how you conceptualize the physics, that's where I think there's a lot more arguments. But in general, it's all the same technology. All the anti-gravity, cold fusion, it's all based on the same underlying physics that has roots in electromagnetism. Thank you for that donation, by the way. Nicholas Newsad says, oh, he's got numbers in his name, chat. He doesn't know. He does not know. This is a free advice, irregardless of your $20 donation. I know irregardless isn't a word. I used it anyway. Don't put numbers in your name, chat. Don't be that guy. Just come up with something that you don't have to put numbers in your name, and then you'll be a true Chad forever. That's free advice for you. It says, Ashton, you are the greatest. Your Thanksgiving live stream was excellent. It was great to see you in such a positive mood, upward and onward. Oh, look at that. See, I cut a man down who was so nice to me. Well, thank you very much for that donation. I appreciate it. We'll try to do some live streams next week. I'm going to take some time off for the holidays, but I'm probably going to keep doing a bunch of live streams. I have several weeks off of work, so we might as well live stream, right? Are the donations multiplying? What's going on here? Joyce Johns, thank you very much for this donation. Says, thanks for opening my eyes to a lot of hidden stuff. Holy mackerel, mind-blowing. Imagine how I feel. People think that I'm a grifter. I'm making this shit up. I'm not making any of this up. I thought I would have run out of content like a year and a half ago. And I don't think I'm ever going to run out of content, actually, because there's just that much physics out there, that much science out there, that much interesting stuff to look into. And now we just opened up a whole new door, which is the CIA, the government, the people that are actually in this position to be gatekeeping this. In fact, this reminded me of another clip that I forgot to play. I think it must have been in that video clip early on that one of the things Glenn Gaffney says is he's used to standing under signs that says SAP above, Special Access Program. So yes, Glenn Gaffney, 100% worked on the Special Access Program. He admits it. And apparently they have signs that say the level of classification when somebody's giving a briefing so that people who are there watching know what level of classification that briefing is at. How weird is that? So that's in that video as well. I'll see if I can put a link in the Discord for you guys later if you want to watch the whole thing. I think it's very important and illuminating to watch and listen to these people in their own words and not to just paint them as some movie villain, because they aren't. They're real people just like you and I, and in many cases, very intelligent people, very smart people, and they've done a lot for this country, but they're also hiding and gatekeeping some pretty incredible technologies from us. Zapparoo, great one. Thank you. Thanks to Lulu for the cameo. Oh, yeah, Lulu was on the couch earlier. Yep. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Zapparoo. Jaleel Robinson says, great stream, bro. ZPE disclosure. Yes, 2025 is ZPE disclosure. 2026, I think, is going to officially be a neutronic fusion disclosure. And I think we may even be going to 2027. We're going to be getting pretty close to warp drive or wormhole disclosure, I think, around 2027. So I can already see the seeds of it getting planted by the normies out there as well. And then Bar T Welding. Okay, there it goes. Bar T Welding says, the first gulp from the glass of natural sciences will turn you into an atheist, but the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you. Werner Heisenberg. Is that really a Werner Heisenberg quote? My goat, man. You can draw a direct goat line. I'm 2 degrees of goat freedom from Werner Heisenberg. My number one goat, well, maybe not number one goat, but, you know, spirit goat, Friedwart Winterberg, was actually the mentee, the student of this Werner Heisenberg right there. The one that I learned nuclear physics from reading his textbook. So that's technically my godfather goat right there. Technically, right? Oh, wait, Godfather, great Godfather. I don't know. Whatever. You can figure it out. Okay, 2 more last donations. Woke and Walk for the pill chat. Gifted the cookie. Nom, nom, nom. Thank you. Very delicious cookie. And then Barbecue says, gives another cookie, says, what's your best guess on which 0-point energy will break through the big oil national security barrier? Do you even have to ask? Is going to be a neutronic fusion. A neutronic fusion is going to be the one, just like Jason Giorgiani said. It's going to have the highest upside, even if they can make over unity fusion work in their little tokamak things, which they might be able to. A neutronic fusion is going to have basically unlimited cap. If a neutronic fusion is tapping directly into 0-point energy, then the coefficient of performance in theory is infinite, unlimited energy. So that will be the one that I'm looking at the most, because those people are going to start doing stuff and they're going to start realizing that free energy is on the table in the future. And we'll see how the suppression works. I imagine the way that it'll work is they're going to like put caps on how efficient a neutronic fusion can be. Artificial ones or just legit ones. And then the world will just ignore it. The same way we do right now, where there's basically caps on solar panels and nobody talks about it. Talks about how the fact that solar panels are only 20% efficient when they could be like 80% efficient. It's going to be like that. Okay, guys, that's your stream for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much, MH370X. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned about the CIA. Give your thoughts, comments down below. Share, like, watch, or listen now. Everything's on audio as well. If you want to listen to your on your any app that you listen to for podcasts, you can watch the live streams afterwards and listen to them. I thank you very much for your support, and we will be back on Wednesday. Peace out, MH370X. I love ya. Later.
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes wormholes connect distant points in space. Traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight. Just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeezed so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine. Spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plates, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound, a shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path.